We just were children growing up where we were poor and we just wanted to survive. And sometimes we couldn't go to school. The school opened because we were still having to work the tobacco. It was survivorship, and we learned a lot of things from it. We learned how to work hard. My name is Sharon Yates. I am the youngest of 8 children, born to John and Laura Jones Bonner. I grew up on a farm. My father was a sharecropper. I attended school here in Dinwiddie County, and I was one of about 113 students to integrate Dinwiddie High School in 1965, when we were under the freedom of choice mandate by the federal government. And so Dinwiddie chose to integrate schools through freedom of choice, and I was one of those students that chose to go to Dinwiddie High and integrate the school.
Yeah, you were talking about integrating into Dinwiddie, and I believe you're among the 113 students. So, and I believe y'all referred to yourself as the Dinwiddie Little Rock Nine. So tell me a little bit about y'all as a group, as friends. Like, how was that experience?
Well, the experience was very, very challenging. There were times when we were frightened because we were called names. We knew we were not wanted there, and many of the students that would have been more comfortable with us because of peer pressure, they went along with the others. We were isolated sometimes, not only from the students. There were some teachers that also put us in bad situations. We, most of the time, tried to stay together. We tried to, when we moved in the hallways, we tried to kind of walk together because we knew what would happen. There were times when there were class changes that we were a little bit afraid. I was frightened sometimes, and I get very emotional when I talk about it, but there was some hard times. But I think now it was worth it. We saw the difference in the way we were educated at Southside than when we went to Dinwiddie High School, because there were more resources. Not because the teachers were any better. We had some awesome teachers at Southside, and it was not my plan originally to go to Dinwiddie High School. I went because my math teacher talked me into going. She said to me, we need people to go who can represent us and represent us well. And so she encouraged me to go. My parents were visited by some people in the community that did not want us to go, and they asked Daddy not to allow me to go. I was the only one from my family to go. I had a sister who was a year ahead of me, and she chose not to go. She stayed at Southside. But because of the influence of my math teacher, I went to Dinwiddie High School, and it was trying. Okay.
I believe. Do you regret the decision to go?
No, I don't. I don't regret it now. I regretted the social part, not being able to socialize with my friends. I left my best friend back at Southside High School. We stayed friends, and we're still friends today after. We became friends when we were elementary school. We're still friends today, but I left my best friend at Southside. So the socialization part was difficult because we weren't really welcomed into the organizations. We didn't actually go to the social activities, the dances, and those types of things because of fear and not knowing that we weren't welcome there.
Wow. So you're essentially robbed of your really some important formative years, and because of racism, you know. So I do. You shouldn't have had to go through that, you know, and I know it was what it was back then, but I know in a lot of ways, you know, I know we were talking off camera, it's helped mold and shape you into the woman you are today. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, I'm sure you would have preferred to not had the experiences you had, but do just want to applaud you just for being resilient, staying in education in schools. And I know also off camera we were talking about how those same students who became teachers, and with you going back to Dinwiddie as a administrator, if I'm not mistaken. Did you want to talk about that a bit more?
Well, I felt like it was a full circle moment. I had attended school. I had endured some things by being one of the students to integrate Dinwiddie High School, and then to go back to that school and serve as its assistant principal, and then go to the central office and serve as a director. It was a full circle moment for me, and I was proud of the education that I got in Dinwiddie. I was not happy with the experiences, but I think it made me more comfortable with dealing with a diverse population, because when I went back as assistant principal, the schools were fully integrated, and I think it helped me to be able to deal with a diverse population, to be more comfortable.
Your father and grandfather's background in sharecropping and land ownership, so did you understand the magnitude of owning land back then, or was it more of like a nuisance having to shuck corn or do things, on the farm? How did you?
Well, the difference is my father at the time did not own the land. Mm-hmm. We were sharecroppers, mm-hmm. which meant that someone else owned the land, mm-hmm. and we worked the land. And so growing up as a sharecropper, it was not as hard for me as it was for my sisters and brothers, because of course I was the baby. Mm-hmm. So I got out of doing a lot of things, and got a lot of support from my sisters and brothers. We just were children growing up where we were poor, and we just wanted to survive, and following whatever our parents told us we needed to do. We needed to get up and get in the tobacco field in early mornings. We worked in the hot sun. When school opened, sometimes we couldn't go to school when school opened because we were still having to work the tobacco and chop the peanuts and do those things. So when you talk about doing manual labor, that was manual labor. And when we look back on it now, it was survivorship. And we learned a lot of things from it. We learned how to work hard. We learned that it was important to be hard workers. And we also knew that education was the door, would open some doors for us. So my parents, though they never got out of elementary school, my mother nor my father, but they knew the importance of education. So they pushed us. They were very supportive. They were there for all of our activities because they knew the importance of education, but they were not educated at all.
With being a grandmother, are you a great grandmother as well?
No.
You're not? Okay. They want to throw that on you. So,
not quite.
Yeah. So, so just being a matriarch in this family, and I'm gonna focus on Shanique in particular. What does she mean to you? And just kind of talk about what she means to you.
As a grandmother, I guess I'm going to be bragging on Shanique. Shanique is a phenomenal young lady. When she was in elementary school, she just loved to read. She read everything in sight. She loved to ask questions. Mm-hmm. She was very, very inquisitive. She loved to follow me and ask me questions. She wanted to know all about what I did, my job. And she was always, as she got older, she became my support person as well. And we supported each other. We talked. And right now, Shanique and we talk on the phone every day. Every day. Even through the generation gap, she has taught me a lot of things about her generation, and she loves to hear about my generation. She loves to hear about the history. She knows I enjoy talking about it, mm-hmm. and so she enjoy asking questions. And when I'm talking about it, she is just as excited as I am. So, yeah, it's been an amazing journey for both of us.
There's a saying, if I'm not misquoting you. Mm-hmm. Prepare, pray, and praise.
Yes.
So what?
Yes.
Yeah, what does that mean to you? How do you implement that on a day-to-day, and how have, because Shanique herself has said that's been like a pivotal phrase that she holds to. So what does that mean to you? How do you implement it?
Because one of the things I've always told her, I said, always pray, always prepare yourself for whatever it is you want to do. And then after God gives you what you have prayed for, praise Him for it. So we call it the 3 P's, and that is to pray, prepare, and praise.
Cool. That's all I have. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving me the privilege to share my story. I do plan to write a book at some point.
I heard you do it. I know about it now. So,
to talk about their strength and the struggles. And it was strength. I think all of the things that I went through, all of the struggles, it strengthened and prepared me for the career that I had. I felt like I had a very, very rewarding career as an educator here in Dinwiddie County.
I didn't understand, the magnitude of it, but my dad always said, he wanted some land. He always said, try to get some land. He always stressed that. And then as I grew up and became real interested in farming, that's all I worked for. We had to try to get some. You see, this place was sold, and my brother and I, through the help of my dad, we bought it back. Yes, to keep it in the family. While it was sold, my dad and I continued to tend it. So Bonner's been planting seed here for about 120 years. I hope to continue to plant them.
For sure. And how do you feel? Because there's a lot of responsibility, to keep the family name and keep the land going. How does that make you feel? Do you feel a sense of pride, or is it? Okay, for sure.
I'm proud, I don't regret nothing I've done. I'm proud of how far I've come. But like I say, we started out sharecropping with mules, and the mules didn't belong to us. And amongst all the, setbacks and everything that's been put before us, I'm still holding on to the land.
No doubt, no doubt. What life lessons have you learned from farming? Just like cultivating things and everything. Like, how can you apply it to your life?
Ownership of land, you feel a great sense of security. And with me, it's like, even when somebody died in the family, if you plant it on your own land, you go all the way home. You don't just go home in spirit. You plant it, if you bury it at home where you own your land, you made the complete trip. And so, I never liked being buried at a church. I want nobody to. I always wanted land, so when I go home, I want to be at home.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Just with the black farming community over the years, we're a fraction of how many farmers we used to have back in the early 1900s. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen, like, as in your 40 plus years farming? What are the biggest shifts you've seen being a farmer, black farmer in particular?
Everything just, it changed fast. Cause the 40 years back, we was using mules, and now you got tractors with computers in them. So I done seen it all back when we was growing up. We grew up on a farm, 12 acres of tobacco, supplied 2 families. 12 acres. And we had to split half of that with the landowner. And the other half was split between my mother's family and her sister's family. So, but now, one man got to have 200 acres before he gets supplied. That's where it is. That's changes like that. And the automation of everything. Everything is hydraulic deals and everything, man. You can just about do anything. You don't have to have as many people like spraying, you kill grass without chopping and stuff like that. There's been a lot of changes in farming since I came.
Okay, and how about the community itself? Just, is there a lot of community, or is it because there's not many farmers that look like you? Is it more competitive?
It's more competitive. Back when my dad and them was farming, they, like him and my uncles or cousins and stuff like that, if they had farms and stuff, or was working on, they could share everything, go to one place and help the other and stuff like that. But hell, I don't think it's about 3 or 4 black farmers really left around here. And it's just more competitive.
Yeah, for sure. And just with, like, in that same vein, just with this current case this land acquisition case that you got going on, yeah, just tell me more about that. How did Ben Crump get involved and Dr. Boyd? Like, talk about your relationship there too.
I belong to the National Black Farmers Association ever since it started. My dad and husband belongs to that with John Boyd, and we lived through the peak put. My dad and I had the same case, and he never got paid. You know, they got paid 6 years before I got paid. And all the farmers guys that was actually farming when that thing went in, they tried not to pay them or paid them late, because they knew that them city slickers was going to take the money. They weren't going to put it back into the land.
They was going to take it for
They was going to take it and take it up to the city. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my thing is to be, like buying stuff, and I like to buy at home, stores in the county. Because if you promote the stores in the county, rather than drive way over yonder somewhere to pay a few pennies less, you helping the county to make the county stronger. That's the way I believe. But automation and all that, Walmarts and all, take all the money out the county, man, take it to the city someplace. Yep.
Yeah. And what do you hope? Because I know in the 90s, like you mentioned, that case, and y'all won, but of course, like
we won, but we didn't won.
Right.
Sort of like the 40 acres and the mule. You got it, but you didn't get it.
Exactly. What do you hope is different this time, you think, with this case?
Hopefully they'll sell it, straight up like they're supposed to. Yeah, hopefully they will. Anyway, if I get anything, it'll be satisfying with me. If I don't get nothing, I'll just say I fought a good fight.
Yeah, for sure. And just to wrap up here, just with you being, and if I want to get this right, you're Shanique's great uncle. Mm-hmm. What does she mean to you, and what about her journey makes you the most proud?
Her mindset and the stuff she's doing, makes me so proud of her more than anybody in the family, because she's down, me and her can communicate real good, and both of us kind of like owning the same thing about the history of the family, and, keeping the family together.
Yeah, doing the documentary too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, my hat's off to her. Yeah, I'm proud of her.
Yeah, for sure. That's all I got. Anything else you want to add, or?
No, but
you good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thanks, boss man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate you.